Hey guys, this is Shub,
And this is Parthib.
and you're listening to Code Red. This is a podcast reviewing Manchester United games, including their tactics, player ratings, and key elements. Throughout the series, we'll be mentioning any club date updates such as transfer news or injuries whenever they come. And today we're going to be reviewing the game against Sheffield United, where United wins 3-0 and takes 3 points home.
Yeah, so this was a pretty vital game for United. They were coming in fifth position, while Sheffield were only 2 points away at seventh. So this was really important for Man U, just bolstering their chances at Champions League glory, because it's been obvious they've been playing, slumming it down in Europa, if you know. And it's just for the benefit of this podcast, it would really help if they made it to Champions League. But yeah, it was a great game, held at Old Trafford, and they were coming into this game with Man U with a 4-2-3-1, and De Gea in goal after his we'll say dodgy issues in the last match. But who else do Man U really have? And starting at the right back, we got Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Maguire in the center, Luke Shaw on the left, and we had our holding midfielders as Matic, Pogba, and our three attacking midfielders were Bruno Fernandes on the center, Marcus Rashford on the left, Mason Greenwood on the right, and Anthony Martial down the middle. And Sheffield have a good defensive record. They've played well this season for a team coming out of relegation, and they were coming in. It was 3-5-2 formation, not something I expected considering Man U's a pretty offensive-minded team. But they had Sean Moore, which was odds because Dean Henderson's usually their main man, and he's had an astounding season with 11 clean sheets. Phil Jagielka, Robinson, and Basham down in the defense. Then we had Stevens on the left, Baldock on the right. In the center, we had Lundstrom, Norwood, Fleck, McGoldrick in the front, who I referred to as the English Thierry Henry. Yeah, have you seen him before? He's got the beard and and we had Mousse up front. Yeah, so it was an important match for them, and United were coming in pretty hot. You want to let them know about that?
Yeah, United, their last game was against Tottenham Hotspurs. They drew 1-1 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sheffield, on the other hand, they lost 3-0 to Newcastle, which was a very surprising defeat. But with that defeat came a critical play when Egan, one of their star defenders, received a red card. And so I think that could be a pretty big component of why they decided to play the 3-5-2. It kind of switched more to a 5-3-2 as the game progressed, but Dean Henderson unfortunately could not play because he's on loan from United, and English rules state that a player cannot play his player club if he's on loan. And yeah, if we're talking about the new changes in the lineups, Ole, he likes to play his 4-2-3-1 formation, likes to attack on the flanks. But, we had De Gea in goal, back four remained consistent the same. Matic and Pogba replaced Fred and McTominay. And before the lockdown, Fred and McTominay, they formed a really good partnership, but against the Spurs game, it didn't really work out so well. And the glimpses Pogba showed in his 30 minutes at Spurs showed something that could be really powerful in this attack. And they also replaced Daniel James with Mason Greenwood, a youth academy player. But otherwise, the formation was pretty much the same.
Yeah,
So
nothing
we can go out
too
through the
crazy.
standout moments.
Yeah, so I think the very first standout moment was obviously Martial's goal. It was excellent play by Rashford to get open and like blistering cross into the box, and like it was perfect by Martial, like anticipating when the ball was coming in and just getting that perfect touch in. It could have easily just bound like skied off into the out over the crossbar, but Martial did well to keep it on target and underneath the crossbar. And the significance of this is like Man U, they need that early goal, right? You'd say that too. It just builds up confidence, which is something Man U has really been lacking. And this confidence was shown with players like Bruno Fernandes. He was unafraid to dribble. He liked to take shots. And same with Pogba. Pogba, as we've seen, like he hasn't really hit those same heights as he had with Juventus. But I think we could see like he was a lot like he tried that dribble. You saw that dribble a lot where like he dribbled through like three or four players, and you can tell that first goal was huge for their confidence.
Yeah. I also think like United, when they score, they generally score like difficult goals. Like it's usually like out of the box, or it's like very like, or like from penalties. Like that's where a lot of their goals tend to come from. But I think the goals that the first goal that Martial scored, it was a proper number 9 kind of goal,
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
The short passes outside, pass it into the box, Martial with the finish. And with the clinical finisher he is, I think if United can continue to play this kind of short pass, fluid type of um, game, then I think they could really have a strong attack.
Yeah, but like I'd also have to say the Sheffield defense was kind of sleeping. They had three players on Rashford and Martial just wide open, but still Martial did well to lose player, not trying to take anything away from his goal. It was a great first goal and a great confidence boost for United, which is I think was the reason why they were able to pull ahead so far. But then 12th minute, Bulldog going in hard. Bulldog was probably my man of the match for Sheffield. He had some standout moments, getting good crosses in, being able to spread the play wide for Sheffield. And like the few chances that Sheffield had, it was mainly it involved Bulldog. Bulldog was pretty heavy into the attack. But the 12th minute is kind of lazy defending by United, but a good play by Bulldog. But then right there, you can see the kind of like Real Madrid-esque counterattack and just blasting down the line. And it obviously started with Rashford, but it should have ended with him as well, missing that. Oh, sorry, it started with Martial, but it should have ended with Rashford. We obviously know what happened there, and it.
Yeah, he missed a sitter, but it was a good play. It was good vision looking up the field, and I think Martial made a really good off-ball run. I think Martial, his style of play has generally been like, stay in the box or like kind of attack a 1v1 defender, and then just hit it, curl it bottom left, bottom right. But he was really showing that off-ball movement when he was like overlapping on the run with Rashford. So I think they could really stretch the defense with their pace on the counter attack.
He's a fast Frenchman, 89 pace on FIFA. That's what I see. I mean, FIFA's not the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
accurate, but there was blistering play from Martial. Kind of reminds me of Robin's goal against Australia, 2014 World Cup. He just went by, or you can say
Spain,
pretty much every
Spain.
Robin goal.
Yeah. No, yeah. Rashford and Martial are very fast. Martial actually hit a top speed of 32.98 kilometers per hour.
Jeez,
So
that's nuts.
yeah, that pace was
Do you
pretty
he
brutal.
okay? Do you think like who do you think is faster, Martial or Mbappe?
I think yeah, Mbappe, but Rashford is I think I'd say pretty close to Mbappe.
Yeah, it's just French people are just fast in general. That's what I know from FIFA. But
Yep,
yeah, so
Ben Yedder.
yeah, so that was another good one. And then just as I was saying with the confidence aspect, like 17th minute, there's a free kick outside of the box, similar position to Tony Kroos 2018 World Cup against Sweden. And like I think Pogba or Matic, I think they probably would have gone for the safer option. But you can see that confidence that Bruno brings to the team. Just taking that free kick and is a nice free kick. Keeper did well to get to that. It wasn't too hard to say, but it was a dipping free kick. But you can see that Bruno's not afraid to take the shots, and he's showed that several times. He likes taking a long shot, and it's a vital component to United's midfield, I think.
Yeah, I think, before Bruno, United would get into the final third, and then they would just pass it laterally because they could not
Yeah.
break down defenses. That was changed when Bruno came, right? He's willing to take risks, and maybe you don't always. Maybe it's like a 50-50 ball, but the sport it's very unpredictable, and so making those like unorthodox passes or those not clear cut chances, but that space, right? Like opening up the space or putting the ball in the space. I think Bruno does a really good job of that. And I think, yeah, he was pretty critical to United's attack, even though he didn't get on the score sheet. He played a really big role.
And then another example of that, they were on the attack pretty heavily first half. Like Sheffield can barely get out of their half. 18th minute, it was the another Rashford miss. It was admittedly this is a harder shot. It was on the volley, but another great link up play between Fernandez and Bruno and Pogba. They were linking up really well this first half. Like those two that can form like a vicious combo. I think in the next coming years. But chip over the defense from Pogba to Rashford should have put it away. It was a difficult shot, but he was pretty open. I think any others. I think maybe Martial in today's form could have put that away, but it was another brilliant like link up between Martial and
Yeah,
Fernandez and Bruno. Yeah,
yeah.
and then 20th minute, we obviously it was unfortunate, but like we can see like United haven't been the most clinical from what do you call it, set pieces from the corner kicks, but Maguire got his head on the ball. But do you think that was a foul?
I think it was. He kind of pushed him into Matic's back, so I
They
think it
just
should
kind
have
of
been.
sandwiched him in between.
Yeah, yeah. I think it should. I think it was a good call by the referee.
And
Didn't
Slaphead
need.
did well again on the on that end. Like it was just showing like they were hungry for goals today, and that's something that hasn't been seen in United since maybe the Fergie days. If you would you
Yeah,
agree?
yeah, yeah. Like even in the beginning of the season, whenever United would they'd score the first goal, they kind of sit back. That was a kind of
Yeah,
problem, and then they would eventually draw the game,
yeah. United
which
were getting out of
was
the
Spurs.
comfort zone and just going for the attack on and on. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
then again, like not only is the midfield just creating chances, Juan Bissaka, he's like I think he can be better than like Jordi Alba. Jordi Alba's been like one of the highest assisters for Messi like these last 2 seasons. They had like a pretty lethal combination, including Suarez. But I think Juan Bissaka could honestly be like one of the best, if not better than some of these current left backs, like fullbacks, like
yeah,
Danny Alves or Jordi Alba. And he even led to that second Martial goal, which was pretty much the exact same goal from his first.
yeah, yeah. No, yeah. In the beginning of the season, people were in the like Trent versus Wan Bissaka debates. Like it was Trent's defending, which was kind of holding him back, and it was Wan Bissaka's kind of attacking, which was kind of holding him back. But as the season progressed, Wan Bissaka is showing more attacking glimpses. He's playing kind of like a winger, running down the flank and then trying to find that little like space in the middle. And he had that goal, that assist. Sorry to Martial. He was one on one, and then he just cut right, and then found Martial in the box, and I think it's good that he's keeping his eyes up, looking for chances, and I think he could be a strong player.
Yeah, how much did United spend on him? Like they brought him in this year, right?
They bought him in the summer, I think 45, 40, 50s, something like that.
I mean, they have money to spend. It's not too crazy for them. But yeah, and he's a physical dude as well. Yeah, he can body anyone, and I think I think he could make he probably will make the England lineup sometime soon. Has he or has he not?
I don't think for Euros they didn't really confirm it, but
Hmm.
I think Trent was over Wan Bissaka. But yeah, he does provide a lot of solidity in the right flank. I mean, we've seen against City, he's pocketed Sterling twice.
Yeah, and like yeah,
Yeah,
he's had
yeah,
a hell of the last 3 years. Like just going off FIFA ratings, which aren't always the best, but like you can tell like how much he's grown. Like FIFA 18, 55 rated, and now he's got like an 87 rated card. 87? Yeah, just about. I mean,
I
one of the
think so.
special cards, but then again, FIFA they inflate. But I'm not going to talk about FIFA much. But yeah, he's a great addition to United defense. But then again, United defense really didn't have much to do. I think. Uh, I mean, Bisaka's even covered like he had some nice covers for De Gea, maybe to avoid another mess up like last week. I'll say, but yeah, it's nothing too bad to say about the defense. They pulled their weight. They did what they had to do.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I guess we can move on to team tactics.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so United they had a 4-2-3-1, which they've kind of operating this whole season with. But it's that final third, against like teams that sit back, against teams that like lower level teams. United haven't been able to break down them because what United do is they go into their own half, pass the ball around more so laterally than forward, and then they recycle it back to Maguire, Lindelof, and they keep on repeating that. It's just a continuous repetition of that kind of style of play. But I think today, especially with Matic and Pogba, I think the midfield it really shows like the difference in this team. I think Fred and
There was like
McTominay.
a good stability between with Matic back there to like just cover for Pogba and Fernandez going up forward more because like I didn't take a look at the formation. I could swear they were playing like a 4-3-3 with like Matic holding back and Fernandez and Pogba pushing forward, but no, Matic did well to cover for those two.
No, yeah, I think Pogba. Um, he doesn't really make a bad team good, but he can make a good team great. I think like
Yeah,
his ability to kind of shield off defenders and then hit it on the long ball. We saw that against Spurs. He hit a beautiful long ball to Rashford, which Rashford could have done better to capitalize on.
We're just
Block
slamming
like
Rashford today.
I mean, but like he's done well. I mean, he had 2 assists.
Yeah,
He had an
Rashford, like he was
goal.
like one thing that was another great combo as well as Pogba and Bruno was Rashford and Martial. Like both Rashford and Martial were coming back, picking up balls deep, and they had some good passes to each other. Like I remember Rashford just dispossessing someone on the left in United's own defensive third and sending a brilliant ball down to Martial. So like it's just that kind of like sort of like a false nine sort of thing that both Martial and Rashford they're kind of playing off each other, dropping in deep, picking up balls, and trying to play it off to each other. So I think that's what really separates them from like maybe like Moisey or Mourinho era was that they were just playing so boring. Like it's like they're playing Barca football, but they just didn't attack. They're just passing it back. But I think this sort of more Madrid-esque style of counterattack suits United so much better.
Yeah, I think like the stats show they had like they attempted 719 passes and they completed 683 of them. So there was a
Yeah,
lot of fluid movement. I think they did well to hold their position against Sheffield United, but more so what they did with the ball was more important. And I think this wouldn't be possible without like the confidence that you have at the back. I mean, Matic was able to really hold off the kind of glimpses that Sheffield tried to, in their attacking. He had 96% pass accuracy and he covered nearly 11 kilometers at
yeah,
10.9 to be exact. So Matic was, he hasn't been great these past few seasons, especially under Mourinho. He was great at Chelsea. And I think kind of like his form coming back is really nice to see, kind of like, uh, the veteran that he is and the
yeah.
presence in the
Like
locker room.
and like they were just holding possession much better than Sheffield. 68% possession on their side, 32 for Sheffield. Like Sheffield really had no clear chance. Like first half, they had no shots on target. Like this is only their second shot on target coming back from the COVID break. And not only was it bad for Sheffield, I think this COVID break was great for United. It was just a good resting period and just a time to fall back and rethink strategy and I think Ole really nailed it down. Like Sheffield aren't a bad team. They've had a great season so far. Like stereotypically on paper, they aren't the best team, but they've been playing well and like it was United shown well, and it was obvious that they were well rested from this break.
No, yeah, I think Sheffield they had a lot of miscommunications, especially on the defense,
Mm-hmm.
and I think United really capitalized on that. Like the Rashford assist to Martial, the first goal, right? Rashford just kind of like taps it over some of the defenders, and then he has the clear cut just pass, like drive it through, and then Martial just taps it in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think United did a great job of kind of exposing that weak
Yeah,
communication
and it
that
really
Sheffield had.
took Sheffield like until like the late in the first half to really get in the groove of things, and it didn't help with Musa getting injured pretty quickly. That changed a lot for what they had to do. And oddly enough, they only did 3 subs. They didn't use all 5 of their subs.
No,
Sheffield.
yeah, I think Sheffield they gotta be like they gotta make sure that like they don't get injuries because like if one of these key players gets injured, then that could ruin their hopes. They're also, I believe, they're playing Arsenal in the FA Cup, so they might have rested a couple players for that
That's
game.
also true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Sheffield did really. They got lucky with the drinks break. I think United were really
Yeah.
pushing
Yeah.
into their
Yeah.
final third, and they were kind of driving those balls, those quick passes. And I think the after the drink break, I think Sheffield was more dominant for like, at least like 10,
Yeah,
15
yeah, yeah,
minutes.
exactly. It seems like that United kind of slowed things down, and Sheffield were getting possession better. Like in the second half, especially, United weren't attacking that well. I was just watching it. It's like, oh god, it's hopefully this isn't like another 2014 United game. But yeah, Sheffield kind of got it back together in the second half. But I think at that point, United already had the comfortable lead, and not to mention the last Martial goal, which was a peach of a goal, I'll say.
Yeah, that build-up play between Pogba, he drives it straight to Bruno, and Bruno just flicks it back to Martial, and then Martial and Rashford have that 1-2. So like they're all on that same wavelength, which is
Yeah.
amazing to see. So like if they continue to play this type, I think maybe 2, 3 years they can challenge for the title if they get the right signings.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I it's like their Martial's goal obviously was first hat trick ever since the Fergie era, and like it's been a while. That's all
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah. I
say.
think United's attack has been depleted. I mean, obviously Mourinho likes to play his park the bus kind of defensive mentality. Moyes didn't really get the signings he should have. I think he got like, and Van Gaal, he didn't do as bad as Moyes, but he should have done it better.
Yeah,
And I think
especially with
it
all the hype
does
coming from Van Gaal, like off the 2014 World Cup, like
World Cup. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
dragging them all like an old Netherlands team all the way to the semifinal. It's no hard feat, but more Van Gaal has shown glimpses that like
Yeah, 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 definitely. But yeah, I think out of these four managers, I think Ole is showing the most progress, and I think he
not
has a
only mentions
plan.
that, like this is the longest unbeaten streak United have had under Ole. This is coming into it. It was 12 games unbeaten with Ole, and now it's up to 13, which is their longest unbeaten run ever since his interim during
Yeah, yeah,
sometime
yeah.
last year.
Bruno actually, yeah, he hasn't lost with United, and the last player that kind of matched that was actually Phil Jones back in 2011.
Phil Jones.
Yeah, in the Fergie era, he used to play as a CDM actually, so his center back role doesn't really fulfill his ability, so that's why we haven't seen him much. But yeah, but I think Bruno's doing a really good job.
Yeah, but not only mentioned that, Juan Mata hit a pretty big milestone this game, no?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, was it 250th
250
appearance?
appearances for Man U.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think those guys like Mata and they're gonna last long around here with like a sort of new batch. Like they played a young lineup this week.
yeah, yeah, yeah. United, Ole does trust the youth a lot more. He's seen like he's brought in Greenwood, obviously, but like also Chong. Even in the Europa League, when they secured their spot in the knockout stages, he played an all academy team against
Mm-hmm.
Astana. Um, yeah, this is the youngest team in the Premier League. With the likes of Rashford, Martial, Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Greenwood, even Daniel James, who I
Yeah,
think,
he didn't show up today, but
is
like
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you think Ole got the substitutions right, the formation?
substitutions, like I think what he was doing, I Mason Greenwood, he really didn't do much for me, honestly. Like he seemed like it took I really didn't hear his name the first like 20-30 minutes. He was just kind of underwhelming. Like you go so much on about him, Mason Greenwood, and I kind of downplay that, but hey, it wasn't a good first impression by Greenwood, honestly. But yeah, I think it's just I mean, when you've got players like Bruno, Pogba, and Martial taking the spotlight, it's hard to get in there. But I think Greenwood can grow into the United mold eventually. But yeah, not only to mention the five subs on at the same time, something that I I don't think you or I have ever seen before.
Yeah, yeah. I think Ole's got to be careful. I mean, this top four race is very, very, very tight. I mean, Wolves are just losing on goal difference. Chelsea, obviously, they're above with Leicester in a not so great, mediocre form. And,
City,
yes, well, City, I think
City,
they've kind of
they've had a
secured their
couple
top
rough games.
four.
Yeah, they've secured their top four for sure. But like, yeah, Chelsea, Captain America, obviously pulling through for them.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Manu. Still, it just pisses me off. City just had to win that one game in Liverpool. I mean,
Yeah,
Liverpool was
yeah.
they were gonna win it regardless.
It was
It's
about a matter of time, not if.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it should be move on to player ratings.
player ratings, yeah, for sure.
Okay, you want to start off?
I think we should go for the most obvious player. Come on, man,
So,
Martial.
Martial.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I'd give him a 8.5. I'm not too kind on ratings, but obviously this is a well-deserved rating. Hat-trick. He did well to just pick up balls, and he started a lot of attacks, and he could have had the hat-trick as well as an assist if Rashford's goal had gone through. He was just a vital player and a
No,
pain
yeah.
for Sheffield's defense, who weren't playing too hot. What
Yeah,
do you
I
say?
gave I gave him a 9. I think he not only played the proper number 9 role, he was, running back, winning those duels,
Mm-hmm.
um, providing those kind of clear-cut chances for Marcus Rashford. He had 13 total duels, and then he had
13. That's
Yeah,
not.
he had
Yeah, you wouldn't see that from a forward.
forward. Yeah. So he was running back. I think it was a game against Norwich. It was a like corner from Norwich, and Martial headed it out, and you think, oh, who is this? But it's actually Martial. So he's been, his work rate has improved heavily this season. 92% pass accuracy. He had 4 shots, 3 on target. Obviously, the shot he missed was the one where Pogba was dribbling through the
Yeah,
defense,
yeah,
and then he kind of
yeah.
skyrocketed it. But I think
I
I
he was
think
he
he had
was
a great job.
yeah, that shot was just he was just kind of itching for those goals. And I think another thing that I digress a bit from the player ratings, but another thing that's helping with the confidence is this is a young squad. Like with like an older squad like Barca, you don't really see them like trying to go straight down the middle, but you can tell like United are comfortable. They want that goal. They want like just a young mindset is like really it's just them itching for the goal. You see them like just passing it from they're lethal from the wings. 2 goals obviously came from the wings, and when they do go down the middle, more oftentimes than not, they're gonna get a shot off. So it's just that young mentality is also just attributing more to the United squad.
Yeah, I think Ole is kind of trying to rebuild that class of '92.
Hmm.
Beckham, Giggs, Scholes. He's really trying to, get in that British youth, which is kind of showing in his kind of transfer window recently, right? Wan-Bissaka, James,
Yeah.
Maguire, and then yeah, he also I think Bruno Fernandes and Igalo, not British, but still youthful
Yep.
in Bruno, and so I think he's made some good signings.
What would you say for Bruno? What would you give him?
Bruno, I'd give him an 8. I think he created some really good chances. Obviously, he didn't get on the score sheet, which is completely fine with me because he was a critical part in that third uh, goal and the build-up play from the pass to Martial. I think that free kick, not the greatest, but it was a pretty solid
Yeah.
chance. Good job from the keeper, and I think he the thing is, if we had another, like, suppose if like McTominay was in Bruno's place, McTominay would be running. You'd have Rashford on the left, and maybe Martial maybe on the left, kind of James on the right. Maybe if James was playing, Greenwood would kind of sit back a bit more. But with Bruno, like you have like 5, 6 players running with him. It's like a full fledged like they're going to battle. Like um,
He
he commits bodies forward.
yeah. He reminds me of Iniesta more than anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd give him a 7.5. Yeah, obviously didn't show up on the score. But then again, like his like kind of like trigger happy sort of thing is kind of like he lost possession on a couple shots that on like a shot or two that he maybe shouldn't have taken. The free kick, yeah, it was a good effort, but to be serious, like only guys like Messi could really score from there, not to downplay Fernando
Yeah.
Bruno. But like, yeah, I think it's also just like just a sense of maturity is also going to help Fernandez and Bruno in the long run. But yeah, I
Yeah.
gave him a 7.5.
Yeah, I think Bruno's a real risk taker. He likes to take those out of the box chances, and sometimes they pay off, like the goal against Everton.
Yeah,
But
he reminds me of Coutinho more than like
yeah,
Coutinho
yeah,
and Iniesta. Just Coutinho on the side that like he takes shots, and Iniesta on the side that
yeah.
he likes to dribble and
Especially
he
aiming for
has.
that right post.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. What do you give Rashford?
Uh, Rashford, I think I'll give him a 7. I mean, I understand like he wasn't clinical with the chances, and it might be because of injury. Like he's coming back from injury, so he might be still a bit rusty
And it's
and
been a while since they
lockdown.
played like
Yeah. But I
consistently.
think he did a good job. I think he made the right plays. He made the right runs. He made good passes. Obviously, the 2 assists to Martial. And in an interview, Martial said that there's no competition between him and Rashford. They're just trying to get the win, trying to score goals.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think
the
they
sort
can
of mentality
form
they
a good,
need. Yeah.
yeah. So they can kind of form a good partnership. So I think Rashford doesn't get on like the goals side, but I think give him a game or two, he'll go back to his
Oh yeah.
clinical form. Yeah.
Yeah, I would give him a 6.5 purely for the aspect that he was picking up balls well. He connected well with Martial, but just not getting in the score sheet is just. I mean, it's not like it would have just helped them more in goal difference, but yeah, it was still a very. It was a solid effort by Rashford, not to downplay him or anything.
Yeah. I think with Wolves pat on their heels, every goal counts at this point. They
Yeah,
can't
that's
afford to drop points, and if it was a 1-0 win, then yeah, we should have been harsher on Rashford. But in a
mhm.
3-0 win, I think we can let it slide.
Yeah. Not green. What do you say?
Uh, Mason, I mean, he's a young player. I don't expect him to score
Yeah.
goals week in, week out. He had some good chances. There were a bit like odd. Like there was one where he kind of tried to curl it in, but it kind of was a delayed kind of shot, so it kind of went into the stands. But I think he did better than James would have been. I think Daniel James operates well when there's like no, like it's very wide. Like they don't teams don't play compact. I think Mason does a good job of kind of weaving through, getting on that, and then making a pass to the
Mm-hmm.
middle, or like pushing it outside. James doesn't really have that kind of technical ability. So I think that's why, like against the Spurs game, he wasn't really able to do much when the Spurs sat back. But even like today, like Sheffield, they sat back. Like in the goal, I believe it was the second goal, first or second goal. Sheffield had like 6 to 8 bodies in the box. So I think
Yeah, yeah.
Daniel James would not have been able to do much. I mean, he had opportunities in the Spurs game, which like to cross, which he didn't do well. So I think, you know, if there was any player I'd put on the right wing, I'd put Mason. But I think give him time to grow, give him a couple of years, and he'll start to form into a physical striker.
Yeah, like I being harsh, and I'm just gonna say it 5.5. It just wasn't he really had no standout chances. He wasn't as involved in the play as Pogba, Bruno, Rashford, and Martial. But like, give him time, yeah, obviously he'll be there. But like, also like he's a center forward by nature, no?
Yeah. He plays a kind of like that number 9 role by
Yeah, so like I think,
Martial.
yeah, I think like um at this point he's seems like Ole's maybe trying out a couple more things, but I think at this point it's just best to go with the lineup that they feel best with, and that it really enhances the players and their position, because right now like Champions League is what United are really aiming for.
Yeah. What you think about Matic?
Matic, like obviously like like the difference between defensive and offensive players is that it's you can see the impact that offensive players make, obviously, because especially with Martial, he's scoring goals. But Matic, he did well. I'd give him a 7. He was there to hold off any Sheffield incomers, and like he was there to support Pogba and Bruno when they went in their little escapades forwards. But yeah, it was a solid performance. Nothing wrong, but nothing too crazy either.
I gave Matic an 8.5. I think
Hmm.
he really was like a bridge between the defense and the offense. I think like Maguire, he likes to kind of dribble into that, not final third, but just a couple of yards, maybe that 35 yards out kind of zone. And so they kind of interchanged. But I think Matic was really solid on the ball. I think he provided a lot of cleanliness. Like if they lost the ball in the midfield, there would have been a different scoreline. Games would have been entirely different. But I think, he's aging, and I think to find that he played like this game, I think he's starting to build his form. I mean, obviously under Mourinho, he wasn't at his best, so I think it's good that Matic is playing at a better level.
Yeah, yeah. Good point. Pogba, 7. It's just a kind of a average rating. Not average, like he did well. He made chances. He wasn't as outgoing as Bruno because he was playing a bit back, but he had some moments of brilliance, like that play where he just weaved through 3 players. Like that was like a messy like dribble, like messy, more like Ronaldo, I'd say actually. It kind of showed like
Hmm.
his old Juve days where like he just took on players like it's nothing. But yeah, had some good opportunities, like the one he chipped over to Rashford. But yeah, 7. I think Pogba and Bruno, I think if they stick around and Pogba just stays disciplined, they'll go places.
Yeah, I gave Pogba a 7. I think against the Spurs, the 30 minutes he had, he seemed a lot more technical because he was creating like very clear-cut chances in that Spurs game. But I think he still did a a really good job this game. He was able to kind of send some long balls. He was able to, especially that pass to Bruno, which Bruno flicked to Martial. I think,
Oh yeah.
looking up, kind of playing that fluid motion. And I think, Matic, Pogba, Bruno, I think that's their top 3 midfield. I think that's their best midfield they've got. McTominay, Fred, give them some time to grow. Um, but yeah, I think Matic, Pogba, they kind of showed like that physical presence that United have kind of always had in the midfield. in the Fergie days, right? Roy Keane, Stan. Um, I think they kind of were not afraid to challenge players. I think McTominay and Fred just use more so pace to kind of turn the ball over.
Oh yeah.
But I think they can form a really good partnership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wan-Bissaka 7.5.
Wan-Bissaka, I gave an 8. I think
Okay. Okay.
he didn't really have much to do on the defensive
Oh
side,
yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Obviously.
but he did do well to you know when they had those two strikers. I think Musa would kind of like run down the flank. I think
Wan-Bissaka was there.
yeah, Wan-Bissaka did a good job. Also,
Yes.
they had a cross which nearly Sheffield scored, but then Wan-Bissaka kind of headed
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
out for the corner. Obviously, the assist to Anthony Martial. So I think Wan-Bissaka he had a pretty wholesome game, right? No like major mistakes made. Didn't have to make much tackles. But yeah, the bad thing is about Wan-Bissaka is like when we say he had a great game, it's when he's forced to make tackles. In the City game, when he played against Sterling, he was seen in a much better view because he was forced to make those challenges on Sterling. But I think
Yeah,
when he's
it's inherently harder to break defenders, but like Wan-Bissaka, it was a performance to take home. He did well, and especially that assist, just it's giving him the confidence boost that like all these young players they really need this confidence, and especially in a team where there's not too many more like senior players which they can rely on and kind of depend upon, like Messi and Ronaldinho. The brilliant partnership when he was young, but like especially with a young squad, like this confidence is the best thing that they can have for them.
yeah. Let's just go from right to left. What do you think about Maguire?
Slabhead, I mean, he got the goal, but
Yeah,
like it
this
wasn't a real goal.
yeah.
I mean, like they really, I mean, the back three, De Gea, I mean, Lindelof, De Gea, Maguire, really had nothing to do. And if anything, Matic was there covering for them. Like, but then again, I do have to say there were some times where they got sloppy. Lindelof and Maguire. I think I'll just rate them as a whole. I think I'd give them a 5.5. They're 5.5 mainly because they didn't really have much to do, but they were sloppy. Like Boldrick was, I mean, that's his name, right? Bulldog. Sorry, my bad. Was able to spread the play wide. And obviously, that's Luke Shaw's kind of territory, but like then again, just getting the ball out, there was some. It was kind of scrappy in United's box, just trying to get the ball out. So yeah, there's nothing defensive to really take home about, but there wasn't. They had nothing much to do either ways.
Yeah, I think Maguire, Lindelof, De Gea, I'd give them fives. They didn't really have much to do, but I think what they did really well was composure,
Mm-hmm,
pass it
mm-hmm.
around what they needed to, and then kind of push the ball forward.
Yeah,
Kind
they
of
played a relatively
starting
high
at the
line
back.
as well.
Yeah. I think that was something that like a key takeaway. I think United they were really pressing high. Like not only on the like generally on the defense, they like to press high, and like sometimes they'll charge at the goalkeeper, especially Bruno, who loves to do that. But they were really pressing high. They had like the defense playing sometimes at the midfield line. Obviously the corner, right? Maguire's disallowed goal, but I think compared to the Spurs game, I think they did much better. They didn't
Yeah,
really allow Sheffield to have any clear cut chances at scoring. Besides that, like one ping pong sequence,
yeah,
uh,
exactly.
which they should have cleared out earlier. But yeah.
Yeah, Luke Shaw, really not again. I don't really think that was a yellow card. He really shouldn't. I think it was a bit soft.
The clip.
May, yeah, the clip, like, I just give a stern talking to. But yeah, 6. Not really much to say about what he did. I really didn't pay attention to him because it was kind of like Wan-Bissaka really dominating his kind of area more than Shaw. I think what Luke Shaw can really take away some stuff that Wan-Bissaka has in his plays that really make him stand out. But yeah, I think Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw, they can be better fullbacks than what
Yeah, I
they are.
think most of Sheffield United's chances came kind of on Shaw's side, so I
Mm-hmm,
think he
mm-hmm,
could have
mm-hmm.
done it better. I think Shaw does provide some like sense of good attacking like kind of threat. Like I know Rashford and Shaw they like to overlap and kind of
Yeah,
pass
yeah,
the ball
yeah.
amongst themselves. But I think if Shaw can work on it, Shaw has been good defensively. I think like
Mm-hmm.
against Spurs especially, he had some critical clearances. But I think Shaw, yeah, I think he has to challenge maybe Chilwell for the England left
Yeah.
back spot. But with
And
some
yeah, I
time,
think
I think he can
especially ever
develop.
since like leaving South Southampton, right?
Yeah. He had
Yeah,
an
and then like
injury.
and then an awful injury against Ajax back in 2015 in the group stages for Champions League, broke his leg. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think under Ole Shaw can really shine.
Yeah. I think Ole is the right mentality-wise
Mm-hmm.
manager for
Mm-hmm.
these guys. I mean, if Mourinho had like the squad, then it would be an absolute shambles.
Yeah, he would have squandered every ounce of it.
Hmm.
De Gea, 6. Actually, no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna give him a 5 for last week's performance purely because of that.
Yeah, I was kind of scared. Hopefully, it doesn't blunder anything. But yeah, we received news from Ole that De Gea will be the starting keeper for next season. He has 12 months to kind of regain
Yeah,
his form that kind of
it's
saved United.
he's had a rough couple of years, but knowing De Gea, he'll get back into it.
Yeah. He's inconsistent in the game. Like against the Spurs game, like it was coming at him. He should have just parried the ball away at the Steven Bergwijn game goal. Sorry, but then he just saves that Son header. So
And then
if
there's
he
that,
can,
and then there's obviously that performance against Arsenal a couple of years back. What, 13 saves?
yeah. I
Or was it
think so.
11? Something like
11
that.
was against Tottenham. 11 was
Uh,
against Tottenham last season, but
I mean, we
yeah,
obviously know De Gea is capable. It's just that he's hit a rough patch in his career. It's just a matter of getting over it.
yeah. But Ole trusts him. I think confidence is key to this team, and if Ole can bring that through results, also presence in the dressing room, I think United. Yeah, I think he could find his form.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, let's move on to the man of the match. Both teams.
Yeah. So
Um,
for my man of the match, United, gonna have to be Lindelof. Bad joke, bad joke. Obviously, Martial, stellar performance from him, picking up balls, scoring first hat trick, and ever since Fergie with RVP. But yeah, great performance. Nothing really bad to say about it. A worthy hat trick.
Yeah, I think same for me, Martial. Um, hat trick, hero, created chances for Rashford. Overall, wholesome
Oh
performance.
yeah.
Uh, and like he's kind of showed like ever since he's come to United, he shows glimpses
Oh
of
yeah.
his
Oh yeah.
potential every season.
It's
This
just a
season like, he
matter of
had
being
those
consistent.
consistent, but I think also like the confidence behind him. Like if he knows like he can have a strong midfield, right? Bruno in the I think they've played together 7 games. Martial scored 6 goals in those 7 games. I think like if you if our midfield can create those chances, pass it to Martial. Martial scores a goal or two every single game.
Hmm.
Maybe some week in week out, maybe not every game, but like he's pretty consistent and clinical, ice in the veins, number 9.
And like I think he can like be the one to eventually replace the kind of like aging strikers that they had in the French squad, like Giroud and Benzema. Benzema's obviously hit a huge, like he's been blowing up in La Liga, but like, I think he's grown old, and I think Martial's going to be up there in the pecking order. And so him and Mbappe, they're going to be a nightmare to defend against. Just
Yeah, I
Mbappe
think
himself, and then add like maybe like a couple years down the line, Martial. Then oh yeah, the French still have it in their locker.
yeah. I think Mbappe can stretch defenses with his pace. Pass it to Martial, square it one, boom, Martial scores.
So what
And
about?
they're both fast players, so they
Oh yeah,
could, yeah.
what's your who's your man of the match on Sheffield's side?
I think Sheffield with Egan, who got the red card in Newcastle, would have been more
Mm.
composed, not so much miscommunication. And people can say Dean Henderson did play, who is kind of the star player for them. But Dean Henderson doesn't affect what shots come
Mm-hmm.
at him. So I think Baldock from Sheffield United,
Yeah,
obviously
that was mine. He like his impact in the first half was obvious. Like just from the get go, he was stretching the play wide, getting crosses him and Fleck, like they combined pretty well. Not to the same standard as Bruno and Pogba, but yeah, Baldock was just he was doing well from the first half. Kind of slowed down the second half, but what can you really do?
Yeah, but there's only like so much I think Bolak could have done. I think the game would have been a lot closer if they had Egan. I think like kind of back four has been consistent throughout the whole season. But yeah,
Yeah,
they
and I don't really
conceded
think
3 goals.
Dean Henderson really would have could have like been able to stop Martial.
Yeah,
It
I
was
mean there were like sitters. So like
And
sometimes he,
not but the third goal, obviously, like that was just cool, composed by Martial. I mean, we can
yeah.
go on and on about it, that goal, but like yeah. So meme team of the week,
Oh, definitely.
definitely. So
uh,
okay, so we obviously have to go with for last week, David Luiz and Arsenal.
hmm
My God, David Luiz, it's just started ever since that abysmal game back in 2014. You already noted it. I'm not gonna say it, but
Yep,
7 goals, and not to mention already awful, awful Arsenal squad. The only like silver lining to that is a bombing and Lacazette from time to time. But yeah, red card. Not to mention the goal, like a pass right to Sterling, giving away a penalty, and then you freaking get Doozy and Mape.
Yeah,
Arsenal
that heated debate between them.
and Mape
Gundo.
and Mape is just he's cool. He's like, oh yeah, Arsenal just have to learn, like what's just have to be disciplined and stuff like that. He really doesn't care. But yeah, Ganduzi, those guys have a huge ego. Just because they play at Arsenal doesn't mean anything. I mean, they
Yeah,
this is
Malpe kind of he's shown Arsenal both times. I think he scored the winner both games, so he's helped
Arsenal.
Brighton win the double.
Arsenal's really fallen if they're celebrating a Mape penalty miss.
Yeah, Schmeichel made a really good save, but
Yeah, like not
yeah,
to yeah, but Michael's a great keeper, but still like laugh. Like, come on, man.
yeah,
I
yeah,
know somewhere out there. I know somewhere out there. Wenger's just sipping beer, laughing at these fools.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man.
How
Yeah,
far they've fallen.
and then City as well. Another could have been square by Sterling.
Sterling to
It's a
Jesus,
recent trend we've been seeing
Jesus.
these last 2 years, and it.
Cough, cough, Harry Kane to Sterling, passing the baton.
Yep. I mean, I mean, City really stood no chance. Like the chances of them of Liverpool losing the remaining of their games and City winning the remaining is just astronomical. There really was no chances of City ever coming back. But yeah, I mean, hats off to Liverpool. They they set out with a goal and they did well. I mean, this is a time to live for Liverpool fans. I'm obviously salty about it, but because of the Barcelona loss from last year, still really salty about that. But I mean, hats off to Liverpool. Great season. Nothing close to City's 100-point season, I'll say, but it was a great season by Liverpool. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I think Liverpool fans will be sad to not celebrate it in the streets and parade and fill Anfield with the trophy. But Pep will be giving Klopp the Guard of Honor at the Etihad.
That is just so like embarrassing. Like having like
Yeah,
like because you screwed up, you had to now give them. I mean, it's the right thing to do. There's nothing else they can do.
yeah, I think it feels kind of scripted, but Arsenal had to give United reserves the Guard of Honor back, and I forgot when it might have been like 2009 or something.
It'd be funny to see like Klopp taking the piss though.
Yeah, but Jurgen Klopp, it's his fourth year at Liverpool. He's achieved great things with the squad. Still miss his time at Dortmund, but I think
Yeah.
the squad
Dortmund
is.
are doing well either. But like, if you told a Liverpool fan 5 years ago, like, oh yeah, you're gonna win the Champions League in 2019 and then the League 2020, they would have spit in your face.
Yeah. I think he's really transformed this team. Obviously, they weren't so great on paper initially, but then like really good signings.
They all just like, and every player pulls their weight. Like that's like something that no other really European side apart from maybe Madrid can say. Like they all pull their respective weight and then they go out and do what has to be done. I think
Yeah,
that's
they don't play for self glory. They play for team glory.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
Firmino, like he's not like the most clinical like striker, but he plays that false nine role, which allows Mane Salah to kind of score those goals. So I think every player in that team really plays a critical role. I think like hats off to them. They've done a good job this season.
So at the time of recording this, United are going to be playing Norwich tomorrow. Any thoughts on that?
I think Martial should be arrested. I think
Yeah, that's a good call.
he had a great game, but uh, I think Ole will be prioritizing the FA Cup, so I think they'd see a 4-3-1 formation. But I think Fred and Pogba could play together. I think Matic needs to be reserved for the more Premier League games, which are more critical for that Champions League spot. But I think Ogalo's been pretty good signing. I think like he has some good chances against Sheffield too. all the play against City. Um, so yeah, I think in terms of
Mm,
prediction, I'd say
you know,
United wins 3-0.
yeah, I'd go. It's a rough, crazy thing that they're playing, obviously because of the COVID outbreak. But yeah, I'm suggesting a more conservative scoreline, maybe 2-1. Norwich aren't the best of teams; they haven't been in the best of forms, although they have beaten Leicester, but that was quite a while back. But yeah, I'm predicting a solid 2-1 finish for United.
Yeah, yeah. I think you think United can get Champions League this season based off that performance that they
Champions League,
continue.
Champions League, Champions League. Oh boy, it's a tall order. Like Chelsea are in good form. Not to mention that like Ziyech and
Werner.
they're not going to be playing
They'll
until
be
next
playing
season.
next season.
Yeah, obvious. Okay, so yeah, but it's a tall order. Will I really can't. I have no idea. They're what 5 points off.
Hmm.
Their goal difference is actually higher than Chelsea. But yeah, it's a tall order. But like I think the way United could play today, it seems plausible. I mean, the played against Sheffield is
Sheffield, yeah.
plausible.
Yeah, I think United they have the easiest run of fixtures in the total Premier League. Leicester's been in mediocre form. They drew 0-0 to Brighton. They drew 1-1 to Watford. So if Leicester continues this form, I think that opens a very big door for United. I think
Yeah, yeah,
Chelsea and United could open, but Wolves are also in good form. But obviously Chelsea have to play Liverpool, and yeah, Liverpool has won it, but I think Jurgen Klopp would like to make the most out of the season. So him. I would see
yeah.
Liverpool potentially beating Chelsea. So Chelsea, if they lose against Liverpool, maybe draw against the team, and United wins all of their remaining games, they'd be level on points.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, United have to just hope for Chelsea to kind of slip one game, but Chelsea's last game is against Wolves, so who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe,
it's gonna be a tight one, that's for sure.
and they also have to. They can rely. Hopefully, they can pray for the City ban, but
Yeah, well, that I mean, it's a tall order regardless whether or not the sitting bans
yeah,
and whatnot. Yeah.
I think they'll still be looking to get top four, regardless of if fifth is awarded a
Hmm.
um, Champions League spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So this pretty much wraps up everything for this week's. We'll be covering the Norwich game and be releasing that as soon as possible. But thank you for sticking around for us. And anything you want to say?
No, glory, glory, Man United.
And we'll see you next week.